Eli Turner was 9 years old when he first saw her, the girl from the farm across the creek. Her name was Claire Bennett. She had scraped knees, a tangle of brown hair always falling into her eyes, and a laugh that carried across the fields louder than any wind. She lived in the white house on the hill with the red barn behind it. Eli's family lived a mile away on the other side of the creek, where the land dipped and flattened into wheat fields. They first met when Claire crossed the rickety wooden bridge barefoot, holding a bucket of wild strawberries. "My mum says your cows got out again," she said, handing Eli's father the bucket. "I saw them near the fence line this morning." Her eyes landed on Eli, who was crouched by the porch trying to tie his bootlaces. "You're quiet," she said, walking over. "Do you ever talk?" "I talk," Eli mumbled, not looking up. "Well," she said, plopping down next to him, "I think we're going to be friends anyway." And she was right. From that day on, Eli and Claire were inseparable. They spent their childhood in boots and dirt, running through wheat fields and woods, catching fireflies in jars and building forts in the hayloft of Claire's barn. Eli was the quieter one, thoughtful, steady, the kind of kid who fixed things instead of breaking them. Claire was the storm, loud, impulsive, always full of ideas and plans. If she wanted to climb the tallest tree, he'd be the one to figure out how. If he was working on something in the garage, she'd sit cross-legged beside him, talking the whole time. When they were 12, Claire convinced him to swim across the creek even though he couldn't. He almost drowned. She pulled him out by his shirt and then sat next to him crying for 10 minutes. "I'm sorry," she whispered, arms wrapped around her knees. "I thought you'd be okay." He looked at her and said, "I'll always be okay if you're there." She never brought it up again. By the time they were 15, the talk in town had started. "They're gonna get married someday," people would say at the diner. But Eli and Claire never talked about love. They didn't need to. It was just there, growing quietly between them like the corn in July. Rooted, steady, undeniable. They'd lie in the back of Eli's dad's pickup, watching the stars. "You think we'll always be here?" Claire asked one night. "Where else would we go?" "I don't know, maybe New York? Or the coast." "I don't want to be stuck here forever." Eli turned toward her. "I don't feel stuck." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "You're lucky," she said. "You're good at being content." "I think I was born restless." Everything changed in the spring of senior year. Claire got accepted into a university out of state, full scholarship, journalism major. She found out on a Thursday and told Eli the next day. He was fixing the tractor when she came running, waving the letter in her hand. "I got in!" she yelled. "I'm going to Wakefield!" He hugged her, tight, spinning her around in the dirt. She was laughing, breathless. But then he set her down. "How far is it?" he asked. 10 hours, he nodded slowly. "And when would you leave?" "August." They both stood there, quiet now, the air suddenly heavier than it had been a moment ago. "You're really going to do it?" he asked. "I have to," she said. "I've wanted this my whole life." He tried to smile. "Then I'm proud of you." But deep down, something had already begun to hurt. That summer was different. They still did the same things, helped with chores, rode the old dirt roads on Eli's four-wheeler, sat under the oak tree by the creek. But there was a clock ticking. One night, 2 weeks before she was supposed to leave, they sat on the porch of Eli's house. He handed her a box. "What is it?" she asked. "Just open it." Inside was a notebook, leather-bound, empty. "I thought you might want something to write in," he said. "For the stories." She smiled and flipped through it. "I love it. I want to know what it's like. Out there. If you think of me, write it down." Her eyes filled with tears. "You really think I won't come back?" He looked away. She reached out and held his hand. "I love you. You know that." He nodded. I'm not leaving you. Leaving for now. But both of them knew how the world worked. Sometimes for now turns into forever. The morning she left, Eli didn't go to the bus station. He couldn't. Instead, he went to the field and sat on the old fence watching the horizon. He stayed there all day. That night, when he finally returned home, his mother handed him a letter. She left this for you. It was short. Eli, I couldn't look at you and still leave, but I need you to know I meant it. Every part of it. You're the best thing that ever happened to me. I'll write. Love always, Claire. The first letter came 3 weeks later, then another, and then they stopped. He wrote back 3 times. Never heard anything. Maybe she got busy. Maybe she changed. He tried not to think about it, but at night, when the house was quiet and the fields were dark, he'd pull out her letters and read them again, memorizing her words like prayers. She wrote about the city, the noise, the people, the feeling of being small in a big place, but nothing about coming home. Eli stayed. He took over more responsibility on the farm, helped his dad full-time, fixed the roof, kept the pickup running. Years passed. 2.5 years after she left, Eli ran into someone at the hardware store, a woman who used to teach at the high school. She had seen Claire. She's working for a magazine in Chicago now, the woman said. Doing really well. I think she's engaged. Eli just nodded. That night, he drove out to the field behind the house and sat under the oak tree. He hadn't cried since he was a kid, but that night, he did. He cried for the girl with the scraped knees and loud laugh, and for the boy who really thought love would be enough. It was nearly 5 years since Claire left when Eli saw her again. It was early October, just before sunset. He had driven into town for tractor parts, his shirt dirty with grease, dust caked on his boots. As he crossed the street to his truck, he saw her. She was standing outside the bakery. She had her back to him, a wool coat over her shoulders, a leather bag slung across one arm. Her hair was tied up, shorter than he remembered. He might not have recognized her until she turned and laughed. That laugh hadn't changed. It stopped him cold. She spotted him just as he opened the truck door. Eli, he froze. She crossed the street slowly, her voice softer now. Hey, he said, his hand still gripping the door handle. I didn't know if you were still around. I am. A long pause stretched between them. You look, she began, then gave a soft laugh. Well, you look like you've been working. He glanced down at his shirt. I guess that's all I ever do. Another pause. I was hoping I'd run into you, she said finally. I'm home for a bit, visiting my parents. Just visiting, she hesitated. For now. He nodded once, then opened the truck door. It was good seeing you, he said, and just like that, he drove away. The next few days were strange. Eli couldn't get her out of his head. The way she looked at him, the way her voice had changed. Calmer maybe, or maybe sadder. He told himself it didn't matter, that she'd made her choice years ago. But the truth was, he had questions, and he never got to ask them. Then, 3 days later, she came to the farm. He was in the barn when he heard the sound of a car pulling up. He stepped outside, wiping his hands on a rag, and there she was, leaning against the hood of a rental car, a coffee in her hand. I figured if I waited for you to call, I'd be 80, she said. He smirked. Might have been 75. Can we talk? She asked. He didn't answer right away. Then he nodded and pointed to the porch. They sat side by side on the steps. The sun was setting across the wheat fields, painting the sky in gold and amber. I'm sorry, she said. For what? For not writing, for disappearing, for all of it. Why did you? He asked, finally letting the words out. Claire looked down at her hands, because I didn't know how to explain it. Explain what? That I couldn't be the girl from the farm forever. That being with you made me feel safe. Too safe. And I thought if I stayed, I'd never become anything else. He stared at her. You think you had to lose me to become something? She flinched. No, I think I was just scared. And when I left, everything happened so fast. The city, the magazine, the new people. And I convinced myself I couldn't look back. You never stopped to think I might still be waiting. I thought about you every day, she whispered. But I thought you hated me. Eli shook his head. I never hated you. Claire blinked away tears. You know what the worst part is? Every time something good happened, a promotion, a story published, I wanted to tell you. You were the only person who ever really believed in me. Then why didn't you? He asked. She looked at him, eyes full of regret. Because I didn't believe I deserved you anymore. Eli wanted to believe her. Part of him already did. But something still sat heavy in his chest. Are you really just visiting? He asked. Claire hesitated, then reached into her coat pocket and pulled something out. A small velvet box. She handed it to him. He opened it slowly. Inside was a gold engagement ring, simple, elegant, and a small note that read, Returned. I was engaged, she said, last year. It didn't work. We weren't right for each other. He didn't understand where I came from, or who I was before the city. Eli closed the box and handed it back. I'm sorry, I'm not, she said. If I married him, I'd be pretending every day. I'd be building a life on something that wasn't real. And what is real? He asked. She reached out and took his hand. You, this place. Who I was when I was with you. He looked down at their hands. I don't know if I can go back, he said quietly. I'm not asking you to, she replied. I just wanted you to know that if you're still the boy who waited under the oak tree, I'm still the girl who never stopped loving him. That night, he asked her to walk with him to the field. They didn't say much. The sky was clear, the stars spread wide and endless. When they reached the oak tree, they both stood still. She stepped forward, running her hand along the bark. It's still here, she whispered. He pulled something from his jacket pocket, her old leather notebook, worn and creased. I kept it. She took it gently from his hand, flipping through the blank pages. You never wrote in it? She asked. No, he said. I was waiting for you to fill it. Her eyes filled with tears. I never forgot, she whispered. Any of it. Neither did I. He stepped closer. This time he kissed her. Not on the cheek, not in goodbye, but like someone who knew what they lost and what they might still have. Claire didn't leave that week. She didn't leave the next. She stayed, helping her parents clean out the attic, walking the familiar roads again, eating breakfast in the diner like she never left. Word spread fast. Eli and Claire were seen driving together, laughing again, sitting on the tailgate of his truck like they used to. Some people whispered, others just smiled. Life went on, but differently now. One morning, while Claire helped Eli's mother organize the old kitchen drawers, she found a small bundle wrapped in string. She untied it. Inside were 3 worn envelopes, her handwriting on all of them. I did send letters, she said aloud. Eli's mother looked over her shoulder and sighed. Oh, honey, we moved mailboxes that year. The post office kept forwarding, but they said a few might have gotten lost. Claire stared at the letters. All this time he thought she never wrote. All this time she thought he never replied. She took them outside. Eli was fixing the gate. I wrote, she said, placing the letters in his hand. He opened the first one, eyes scanning quickly. Then he read the second, the third. His hands trembled. I waited so long, he said. I never stopped writing in my head, she replied. A year later, the 2 farms were still standing. Claire started a small local paper. Eli helped her deliver copies every Friday. They married under the oak tree in the fall. No big ceremony, just family, friends, and the sound of wind moving through wheat. Some nights, they'd walk out to the fence line and watch the fields. "You know," Claire would say, "I used to think I had to leave to find myself. And now?" he'd ask. "Now I know. I just had to find my way back." They didn't have a perfect life. They had storms, droughts, arguments about bills and grocery lists. But they also had laughter, and porch lights, and letters written in notebooks. And on the other side of the field, 2 childhood homes stood in silence, no longer separated by distance, just connected by time. And love.